I'm breaking my own rule. Hold on. Yeah, I forgot to turn off my speaker. My bad. All right, welcome everybody to our Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 regular city council meeting. We are here live in council chambers and broadcasting on Zoom as well. We will go ahead and get started with the invocation, and I forgot to ask somebody, so I'll go ahead and do that, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and please join us. Dear Father, please guide us as we gather here together as a council, as the community, as residents, as leaders of this community and individuals, so that we can work together collectively for the greater good of our community, be good stewards of everybody's money, and get the best projects that we can on the books and moving forward, so that we can continue to grow and thrive and and maintain a thriving community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll go ahead and get started. Councilmember Darrow. Here. Councilmember Ball. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Dunn.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Klingler.
Also happy to be here.
Councilmember Kurtz.
I think I need to say I'm happy to be here.
Councilmember Fisher.
Data to be here.
All right, we have we are. So we have a request for an excused absence from Councilmember Severs. I don't know if it was a family or business. Do we?
So moved.
He's traveling.
Okay, traveling. Okay, so do we have a motion to excuse Councilmember Severs?
So moved.
Okay, and
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Kurtz, second by Councilmember Dunn. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, we're up to agenda approval. Do we have any requests for modifications, Mayor Pro Tem?
Madam Mayor, I would ask we move general business 11A, the appointment of Lori Merkel to the community engagement to before announcements and proclamations. Call it 7A1.
As 7-11B as well?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Do those moving forward.
Okay, we have motion to move 11A and B to before announcements, proclamations, special presentations.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we had, okay, thank you. We are all so happy. I'm losing track already. To move those before announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, any other requests for changes to the agenda? All right, not hearing any.
Madam Mayor, I move the agenda as amended.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Darrow. I'll just go around and pick whoever I saw first. Those in favor of approving the amended agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Okay, we're up to citizen comments. I know we have one citizen comment here in chambers. We have our white half sheets by the door over there. If you'd like to make a citizen comment, please fill one of these out and get it to Rochelle at the end of the table. General rules, we need you to let us know if you're a City of Liberty Lake resident or not. And 3-minute time limit. Comments only. If we need to get back to you, we make sure we now have contact information on the sheet. Great improvement. Thank you for that. If we need to follow up, we will do that, but there is no back and forth with the council. It's comment period only. And so if there's anyone online as well, if you'd like to make a comment, please send a note to our meeting host in the chat feature and we will get to you after we do in person. But first up, we've got Mark Saba. Good to see you. Up and around.
I'll be real close. Test. How's that?
There you go.
Okay. This is my first city council meeting that I've been able to attend since the first of the year. I've had some medical issues that will be taken care of shortly, but I said, screw it. I'm getting tired of sitting around the house, so I'm out and about. So the reason why I'm here, I haven't been able to congratulate the 3 new members of the council. That's Rick, Arlene, and Summy. I met with all 3 of you. 2 of you, we had coffee. Rick, you and I met in front of my house. Mr. Winterglow, remember that?
I did.
Yes. You guys are a breath of fresh air to this council. And you know, you guys told me one main thing, all 3 of you. You're going to listen to the people. And I really appreciate that. So welcome aboard, and I'm really excited for this year. You're going to see more of me now back at the council meetings before. The last the last team that we had here, I just got fed up, so I just chose not to come, but I'll be coming to more of them now. So again, welcome, and I'm glad to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If we don't have any more here in chambers, is there anybody that's logged on online who would like to make a comment? Okay, we don't, and I don't believe we have any written comments to read in. Just making sure. Rochelle, we didn't have any written. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. All right, we will move on to our appointments. So for,
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I would move new item 7A1, the appointment of Lori Merkel to the Community Engagement Commission.
all right, Lori, thanks for being here. We know you're getting ready to jet off. So everybody, we're gonna let Lori take a moment just to introduce herself so you can get to know her. You've seen her application for Community Engagement Commission. Several of us interviewed her and we think she'll be an amazing addition.
Well, thank you. Yes, so I'm Lori Merkel. I've lived in Liberty Lake for 27 years. It'll be 28 in December. So we just 27 years. High school teacher at East Valley High School, and I'm looking for ways to more purposefully get involved in the community. I feel very vested in Liberty Lake, and I'm at a point in my life where I feel like this would be a good thing for me to, as I said, purposefully get involved. So met with members and look forward to the opportunity to serve as a conduit between community members and council.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Lori while we've got her? I'm not seeing any. All right, so we have a yeah, we need a second to the motion.
I'll
to the
second.
motion. We have a second by Councilmember Darrow. Those in favor of confirming the appointment of Lori Merkel to the Community Engagement Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, welcome, Lori.
Madam Mayor, I'll move item 7A2, the appointment of Abby Sprague to the Planning Commission.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Kurtz. Come on up. I know you guys have all met, or most of you have met Abby. She interviewed for the appointed council position, but I'm going to let you go ahead and reintroduce yourselves.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Abigail Sprague, and I've lived in Liberty Lake for almost 2 years now. I don't have a lot to say this evening, but I first want to thank the mayor and other community members for helping me get involved and encouraging me to get involved more. I secondly want to state that I look forward to working with the council members more closely in the coming time, as well as looking to Liberty Lake's future together. Further, I wanted to say that I am very honored and excited to serve the community in this way. Additionally, I urge any citizen watching online or in person to come visit a planning commission meeting, say hi, or get involved in any way that you can. I feel a deep sense of responsibility and loyalty to this community, and I look forward to working towards Liberty Lake's success in the future with you all.
Great.
Thank you.
We welcome you. Does anybody have any questions for Abby while we've got her? Councilmember Fisher.
Question, but I do have a comment. We just accepted Abby as a libertarian today into our club, and
Nice.
she is just a dynamite, and so we're so excited to have her. So thank you, Abigail. So good to see you here.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Councilmember Darrow.
Also, a comment. I'm just really impressed that you've followed through with what you've been doing here. I've been enjoying watching your journey from the sidelines a little bit, and it's really cool that you have stepped up at every step of the way. So
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Councilmember?
I'll even throw that Abby's been instrumental in upgrading the Kiwanis Club's website. As a recent member addition has been invaluable. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right. No other questions. Those in favor of approving the appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, not hearing any. Welcome. And I hear you were in attendance at the last planning commission meeting, so we expect you to get started with your running straight ahead.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, we are now up to announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. We'll start with Kyle and the 2025 year-end financial report. You should have a packet on your desk.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Residents of Washane, pulls that up. So just kind of a brief synopsis of 2025 high level revenue and expenses. You see some version of this kind of on the monthly dashboard and the monthly report. So this is just kind of putting a bow on 2025 for all of our major revenue and expense centers. So next slide, please. So we'll start with property tax. And so we get specific information. So we are normally we are exactly on, maybe a tad under when we budget for property tax. So we budgeted 3.16. Our actual levy was 3.166. And so as you can see, we have that TIF contribution that we talk about a couple of times a year. And so that portion gets kicked to the county along with Spokane Valley Fire and the county to augment the state's $1 million contribution annually for infrastructure projects. And so we kick that to them annually. And so as you can see, we're right where we need to be for property tax. So our general fund revenue was 2.655. We budgeted 2.65. And so I think, as we all know by now, but just a refresher, we had an ordinance a couple of years ago that dedicated 23.8% of the property tax fund to the library. And so we actually came right on that number. We don't have that allotment anymore, but you can see that the train is still right on the track of where we were, even though that ordinance is no longer in place. And so the budgeted amount for the library was exactly 23.8% of 2.655 million. So we're still tracking right where we need to be for the library. And obviously the remainder of this goes to pay a portion of the PD's annual budget as well. So that was about 1.95 million was the remainder of that. So next slide, please, Shane. And please interrupt me as we go along as needed. So our single largest revenue source, obviously, is sales and use tax. In 2025, we budgeted 6.62 million. We receipted 6.99 million. So we're still really strong in terms of annual growth year over year for sales and use tax. Bottom left-hand corner there, you can see our average for 5 years is 8.8% annual. And then up on the top right-hand corner there, you can see our breakdown. We've gone over that a couple of times, but it's always just a good reminder of when we go to a store in Liberty Lake, what we pay and where that goes. And so 6.5% of that goes to the state, 1.6% of that goes to the county. The general fund within the city gets 0.8%. The city's transportation benefit district that now goes to fund our streets department gets 0.1%. That total is 9%. And that's our breakdown for our taxes. And so the 6.99 million that we receipted in 2025 goes to pay the biggest chunk is obviously public safety. It also funds parks and administrative services. And so when I say administrative services in this context, I mean my department, but also legislative, executive, the larger administrative function as well. So next slide, please. The permits and plan reviews. So these revenues fund the community development department, and they are designed to be 100% cost recovery. And so what exactly is included in that is obviously it's building permits, it's franchise fees, business licensing, zoning, subdivision services, and plan reviews. And you can see the white line there is the revenue, and the red line is the expense for the community development department. So we're outpacing that, and it's purely based on development. This is completely developer driven permitting. And so every once in a while we will receive more than what community development spends. The delta of that goes to, and it's an ancillary benefit to the administrative services department, because we help provide support for issuing building permits, for administering franchise fees and business licensing. And so you'll see a little bit of a delta. You can see in 2025, we spent a little bit more than we brought in. That's completely normal. So ideally, we want to be at like 100% cost recovery, not necessarily like 120% cost recovery. And so we fully expect the permitting and the plan reviews to bounce back in 2026. And you can see these jogs year over year. That's based on developers' timeline. That's not anything that really the city can control. And so we'll just be in a position to help them when they decide to put forth those permits.
And if you look on it on a monthly basis, you're going to see a lot more of that cross.
Yes, that is correct. Next slide, please. Some of our state and local shared revenue collection. So all of these came in at or above where we thought they were going to. So this is all very encouraging. That when the state tells us they're going to help us out with something, they actually deliver. And so they put out these estimates usually in it's September of the prior year. So they're really dealing with preliminary numbers. But it's encouraging to see that what they're putting out is what we're actually receiving over and again above that. And so every revenue source you see here funds PD services. Next slide, please. And so finally, on the revenue side, for major sources of revenue, we have dozens of other line items that are nominal that we won't review tonight. So we're just reviewing kind of our major sources of revenue tonight. The first one you see on the left there is admissions tax. And so we tax the sale of, call it golf services in the city. So we have trailheads, we tax our own service. We have Meadowood and Liberty Lake, those are county courses. And so when you pay for a bucket of balls or greens fees, we charge a tax for that. And that revenue is used for the city to fund park services. And so you can see, if I gave you a graph of just the admissions tax, we're double-digit increases year over year, and that's purely indicative of the increased demand for golf that we've seen in our community. And so it's encouraging to see that that activity is still growing and we're benefiting from that. So over on the right-hand side, we have our investment interest. And so we check in on this a couple of times a year. Again, 2025, we outperformed expectations. There's kind of heading into each year, especially for the last couple of years, there's always kind of this dark cloudish, okay, is the recession coming? What's happening? And so we always budget conservatively for investment interest because we trail the federal interest rate by a couple of months. And so if they're going to start slashing that interest rate, which we think they might again in 2026, we'll always budget a little bit more conservatively. That didn't come down like we thought it was going to in 2025. So you can see it's on the revenue side, it's a benefit because we're outpacing what we thought we were going to earn on our reserves that lie in the local government investment pool. And so these are unrestricted revenues. These largely fund administrative services as well. Next slide, please. So here's kind of our full buffet of our main departments and our main service deliveries that lie within the general fund. And I apologize for those in the audience. I know this is small. We'll put this out on the website after this meeting. But so from left to right, public safety, community development, park facilities, and so we'll start with public safety. We do see 104% of our annual budget, and so obviously that's not normal. We had a few extenuating circumstances regarding, I think we had 4 PD vehicles that were purchased in 2024. They were not outfitted and billed until 2025, and we accounted for that purchase in 2024, but we didn't get the bill until 2025. We also had several benefit elections that changed during open enrollment, and one change of that can potentially have like a $10,000 or $15,000 effect on benefits. As chief in DC will tell you, just increases across the board with court and dispatch services over and above what we had planned for. And so all of those kind of in the aggregate have led us to that. Over on the far right-hand side, arguably more important is that our total general fund expense was 82% of our budget in 2025. And so if we see public safety at 104%, we see all of these others at 95 or 100, then we're coming back to this council to consider a budget amendment. And so with the delta you see in those other major expense categories, there was no need to approach council with a budget amendment. So next slide, please.
Real quick, Kyle, just as a note for those in attendance and online, I'm sure Ben will correct me if he wants to, but the capital projects and transfers at 3% mostly affected by the asphalt.
So in the streets fund, yes. So specifically for this was, so we had contemplated during budget development in 2020, in 2024 for 2025, build out of the library and potential prepayment of the bond. And so none of those came to fruition. And so we see that huge delta regarding those capital projects. So next slide, please. And so this is our 5-year history regarding our ending balance in the general fund. And so as you can see, we had kind of from 2021 to 2023, pretty nominal decrease. And then we had a pretty major jump from 2023 to 2024. So we had been cash funding a lot of the improvements for the Kramer overpass. And then we eventually got reimbursed by the TIF and Lift fund in 2023 going into 2024. So you see that big jump in that beginning balance there. And so we stayed pretty steady. As you can see, you know, we had a little bit of cost overage in some of our departments ending 2025. And so we see a little bit of a jut there for 2025. That's totally normal. You know, if this was a 10-year history, you would see a lot of these ending balances be at like 2.5, you know, 2.1. And so we have, obviously with increased demand for service, we have an increased buffer that we'd like to have for the ending balance of the general fund. And you see that generally here. So next slide, please. So public works revenues, we're pretty much right on pace. And so we had our TBD sales tax. That's at 0.1% of the sales tax that we saw in the earlier slide. The MVFT is the motor vehicle fuel tax. And that's another state shared revenue. And so those came in at 98%. That's totally fine. You know, if those are coming in, you know, anything below 90%, there'd be a little bit of a cause for concern, but those are performing as expected. And then again, REIT 1 and 2, the 0.25% of the sale of real property within Liberty Lake. So that performed right as we had expected in 2025. Next slide, please. So on the expense side, Mayor, this is kind of what we were referring to. We had a lot of street projects that were deferred because of what she said, the asphalt strike. And then other opportunities to potentially get grant funding where we can potentially push a project out a year and submit to TIB and potentially get like 90% of it paid for. And so we did have a lot of projects in the hopper that are either deferred to 2026 or another out year that were not executed in 2025. And then on the left-hand side, you see street operation expense, 88%. You can see that's coming in right where we need it to be. The previous slide said that our revenues are right at, you know, 98 to 100%. And so if we're only spending, you know, 88%, that's a delta that we can live with. And so won't be like that every year. We've had 2 years in a row where we've had really light snow. And so one of these years we're going to get walloped, and then we're going to get a bunch of overtime and a bunch of things breaking down. And so it's coming, but we'll enjoy these and we'll stack where we can, kind of when the seasons are light. Next slide, please. So golf operations, and so I'll save the anecdote there for a little bit later. The 5-year golf operations revenue expense, 2021, you can see that revenue, we greatly outpaced expenses. And so what happened from 2022 to 2025 is we started putting roughly $300,000 towards either trailhead facility improvements or the bond payment. And so obviously that had not been contemplated prior to 2022. And so you can see these juts, but this is absolutely what we can live with. And so if we can identify 100% of the cost of golf operations, including capital payments, and have the revenue support that, that's an absolute win in my book. And so when we first contemplated the bond, we had identified REIT as kind of a major source of revenue that we're going to use to help golf operations pay that bond down. And so in 2026 and going forward, that bond payment is going to lie solely within golf operations. And so that'll free up a lot of REIT funding for street projects. So next slide, please. So these are just kind of the rest of the funds that have had, call it substantial activity. You won't see Parks and Arts in here. Parks and Arts lives pretty much wholly within the general fund. It's funded wholly because of an interfund transfer through the general fund. So we won't see that listed here. These are special revenue funds and capital funds. And so On the far left, our tourism promotion, we have 3 separate funds dedicated to tourism promotion. So we aggregate those 3 and we get that total resources, and that includes beginning balances of $1 million. And so we spent 668,000 last year, which is way more than we've ever spent in tourism promotion. 500,000 of that was a prepayment of the bond. And so that was, so that's a reason for, obviously, for the sharp increase in expense for tourism promotion. Street capital, this is a kind of our major fund where we purchase equipment. This is funded through any excess revenue that is generated through the streets operating fund. And then we purchase heavy equipment, any streets related items with this fund. And so as you can see, we had some pretty major heavy equipment purchases in 2025. And so the Harvard Road Mitigation Fund, this one will lie dormant for years at a time, and then we'll identify a street improvement project that lies within that district that we can attack. So we had some design dollars go towards a project for that in 2025. But once we identify a project that will be eligible for those funds, then we'll draw those resources down with that project. So, and then library capital, we did some additional design work at the beginning of 2025. Obviously that is now dormant. We don't have a clear path on any future for the library at this point, but we did incur some costs on conceptual designs for that in the first part of 2025. And then we're going through Parks Master Plan, Comp Plan, Sidewalk Master Plan, and we have a lot of master planning activities. So we had some pretty substantial expense in our Municipal Facilities Fund Master Plan. And so as you can see there, we do plan to expend the majority of the rest of that in 2026 as we complete those plans. And then Stormwater APA. So we had contemplated going out and fixing not only Sprague Avenue, but Neymar as well, I believe. And so what we have here is what we thought we would potentially expend with that $500,000, and that delta. So we spent 105, largely design and stormwater operating expense. So the remainder of that is going to go towards the Neyland Avenue improvements. So with that, that's kind of an overview of all the major stuff. I just threw a ton of stuff at you, so feel free to kind of reach out afterwards if you have any questions, but feel free to take anything at the moment. So,
Mayor Pro Tem.
I guess compliments, Kyle, all around for the execution, specifically to be able to report such well-presented within spends for budget. I want to recognize, though, the lack of expenditure for REIT, Public Works specifically, as well as street capital and deferred projects. I want to speak for the street projects that the city really has in front of us. I'd rather more not defer projects than actually do them. I recognize, in the moment that there is an opportunity regarding a grant application, definitely want to take advantage of that, but it's not getting any cheaper as we push this further. So I look forward to trying to see what can be moved up in terms of street capital projects. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Councilmember Ball.
On the general fund revenues, criminal justice sales tax, 117%. Exactly where does that come from?
So that's a portion. So the county collects, call it 6% of that. So they passed a measure in 2017, I want to say. And so whenever they pass a measure, they collect 60% of that, and then the cities that lie within the jurisdiction of that county will receive 40% on a per capita basis of the remainder of that sales tax collection.
Okay.
And this is the topic we've been trying to broach here for the last couple of months, where with things going on at the county, it's a possibility that we could lose part of that if we don't move forward with something on our own. So that's still to come.
Correct. Yep.
That's the sales tax we were talking about.
Yeah.
Public safety
Yep.
sales tax, yes.
Okay.
And so they statutorily, they can collect up to 0.3%. They're currently collecting 0.1. And so this is Liberty Lakes, like per capita disbursement of that 0.1 that they currently collect.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Chief, and I don't know if Deputy Chief is, there, I thought you were on camera. I didn't see you hiding out there. So we got Chief here for the annual PD report.
So as Shane's queuing that up and Kyle is leaving the podium, I want to just acknowledge the fact that Kyle single-handedly almost probably ensured a Seahawks victory with his podcast episodes. If you haven't heard that, go onto our website and check it out in retrospect.
Hi, Chief.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the council. I'm gonna struggle through this because I am a little bit ill, a lot ill, so bear with me, please. I'm gonna try to get through this. Included in your council packet are our department year-end statistics. During this presentation, I plan on highlighting several of the most significant and relevant data points. If you have any questions about any of the stats not addressed, please note them and I'll answer those at the end of the presentation. Our year-end statistics are essential to our department's ability to operate both strategically and responsibly. They provide objective evidence that guides operational decisions. They help us inform our budget priorities. They support our staffing allocations, and they identify emerging trends and risks. When we analyze this data, we can deploy our resources where we need it, and we can justify our funding requests with measurable outcomes. We can evaluate our programs that we have employed and see if they are effective. And the statistics also help us ensure transparency and accountability to both you, the city leadership, and to our community. There's a couple of things that aren't in this slide that I want to touch on. In 2025, we strengthened our team by adding 4 outstanding additions to the PD. We hired 3 experienced lateral police officers and 1 highly skilled lateral crime analyst. And that's one of the reasons we're able to have data like this as our crime analyst. So we thank Michelle for that. They brought a level of expertise that's just enhanced our professionalism and our operational capabilities. And we're super excited to see what the future holds with those hires and our additional hire this year. One important statistic that's not noted in this presentation is that our records and evidence clerks, both our young ladies there, completed 752 of the 871 total public records requests received by the city. That's 86%. This is the second year in a row that we hit 86%. In 2024, they fulfilled 86.5%, I believe, of the total records requests, which was 774 out of 894. So great job by our admin there. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry, you already. Where am I at? Am I ahead of myself? Can you go back?
I think you need to back up one there, Shane.
Go back one. There we go. Thank you. In 2025, we responded to 13,170 calls for service. This does reflect a substantial increase compared to the 10,520 that we responded to in 2024, the 6,787 that we responded to in 2023, and the 7,756 that we responded to in 2022. This upward trend is attributed to several different factors. Of course, population and commercial growth is one of those, but also the efficiency in our SREC Emergency Communications Center and our advanced reporting systems in the county, such as the Real-Time Crime Center, and also our operational expectations and our efficiency at the PD. We, as far as operations and logistics, we made a lot of changes in our expectations of our officers as far as visibility and proactive work. And that's starting to pay off. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we get into some of the other statistics here in a few minutes. But an example of that would be a new policy that we have regarding crime check. We still utilize crime check, but when a crime check report comes in, our officers are required, even though it may be a telephone call to crime check, and that person may not necessarily want contact, our officers are required to contact the complainant or the victim to see if there's anything else that we can do for them at that time beyond what crime check is doing. And that's a customer service thing for us, making sure that we're, as far as customer service, we're giving the public exactly what they deserve, and our community what they deserve. Next slide, please. We had 711 total offenses that we reported to NIBRS in 2025. If you're not familiar with NIBRS, NIBRS is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. It's managed by the FBI. It's a comprehensive crime reporting system that captures detailed incident level data on about 71 different offenses and arrest data on about 10 specific offenses. So as we move through, you're going to see, if you can see this, and I apologize because a lot of this is super small, but you see we have property crimes listed here, crimes against persons. The no value, the category that is labeled no value, excuse me, those are things that are civil in nature. So like civil protection orders and things like that. So things that we don't have to report to NIBRS, but we keep track of that data anyways. And then the crimes against society and the various, I'll explain here in a little bit. You'll see as we move through, you'll see some examples of those crimes, and it becomes a little bit self-explanatory at that time. Next slide, please. Crimes against, when we talk about crimes against property, our stats for 2025, you can see that we had somewhat of a significant decrease in this category. I attribute that to, again, a lot of proactive, an increase in our proactive work and also our staffing and our expectations when it comes to proactive work and visibility and making contacts with suspicious persons and suspicious vehicles and traffic stops and those types of things. So a little bit of a decrease there in that category. Next slide, please. We did see a little bit of an increase in crimes that, did I get ahead of myself there again? Oh, there were persons, crimes against persons. I did. Crimes against persons, we saw a little bit of an increase in things like assaults, intimidation, aggravated assaults. Our crimes aren't necessarily listed. Like we don't say intimidation, we have like harassment. We have to categorize our crimes and the crimes that we charge under RCW into these different categories. So you may hear something that may be a little bit different when it comes to RCW and what our crimes are titled. But these are what NIBRS titles those, and we have to categorize our crimes that we charge under these specific categories. So just a little bit of an increase in 2020 and 2025, but nothing significant that I believe we need to be worried about. Next slide, please. Same thing against crimes against society. These are crimes such as DUIs, trespass, drug violations, what we call, they say drug equipment, but we call it drug paraphernalia violations, things like child pornography, child luring, and things like that. So a slight increase. Our detectives have seen an increase in what we call NCMEC, or National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I did that for 8 years. You think I know the title? Crimes, we get cyber tips from NCMEC, and we have seen an increase in those. And we do have a detective that almost is solely dedicated to investigating things like child pornography, child luring, child buying, human trafficking, those types of things. And so, and as you know, we did have the big operation here in Liberty Lake last year, in which we arrested approximately 16 people. And those crimes would fall under this category. Next slide, please. Here's that category of the various and all other crimes. Some of these crimes include reckless endangerment, obstructing, cyber harassment, fugitive, what we call a fugitive or out-of-state warrant. That is, for instance, we get someone who has a warrant out of Idaho or Montana. We cannot book them under that warrant. We have to book them as a fugitive from justice. It's a new felony charge. And then that's what we book those people in the jail under. We don't book them under their out-of-state warrant. There was an increase here. I attribute this increase to our increase in proactivity. Again, if you take a look at some of these crimes, obstructing the warrants, making false statements, possession of making or possession motor vehicle tools. These are a lot of crimes that you encounter when you're proactive, when you make traffic stops, when you contact bad people who are roaming around town. That's how we, these people are charged during proactive. So I think an increase in our proactivity is attributed to a major increase here. I wouldn't say a major increase, but a slight increase here. But again, nothing to be concerned about. Again, I think a lot of this is due to proactivity. Next slide, please. We had 131 arrests for the year 2025. Assault in the 4th degree, and I believe I would venture to say that a majority of those were probably domestic violence related, led the way in our arrest there with around 30, followed by DUIs. Next slide, please. We made 2,301 traffic stops, and you can see that the number of traffic stops are broken down by the month here. We had 109 accidents, and we had somewhat of a winter last year compared to this year. And you can see we had 30 accidents in February. I think that's probably attributed a little bit to the weather. And you can see those kind of taper off during the summer. And we issued 296 citations. Now, one of the things I'd like to point out here is sometimes we have people that like to tell us that we write traffic tickets for the revenue, which we completely don't, because out of 2,301 traffic stops, we only wrote 296 citations. One of the big things that we do is part of the, the 3 E's, the engineering, education, and enforcement. Enforcement is one of those, but education is also super important when it comes to the public. And so we do a lot of that when we make our traffic stops. Next slide, please. 34 total DUIs for the year, 17 negligent driving charges, and 11 reckless driving charges. Next slide, please. I'm not going to touch too much on this. We only had 3 pursuits, but what I will say is we only had 3 pursuits. That is not including the number of pursuits that we probably could have had, which would have been a heck of a lot higher than 3. This is a testament that our officers are really good at following policy and state law when it comes to pursuits. I don't know what this number would be if we actually talked about the number of people who refuse to stop. It's going to be a lot higher, a lot higher, but actual pursuits, our officers only engaged in 3 of those for the year, which, it's great. Our officers know our policy, they know state law, and it reduces the liability on the city because pursuits are inherently dangerous. Next slide, please. Use of force data. We had 6 incidents of use of force. The biggest takeaway from this for me is this is a testament to our officers' ability to de-escalate. I can tell you, I've been on a lot of calls, and myself, even as a chief in 2025, where things could have gone south really easily, and force was completely justified, and our officers are really good at de-escalating, avoiding use of force, and again, which reduces injury to citizens, our officers, and potentially liability on the city. One of these incidents did involve our officer-involved shooting, December 21st? December 21st of 2025, I believe. So that was an officer-involved shooting that was included in this data. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Go over that. You can skip that one. Next. And we did have a couple of significant cases. This is just a couple of many. We probably could have filled up 3 or 4 pages with these. We did have, but one of the things I'd like to say is we are experiencing an increase in complex and high priority cases. We added a detective just for that reason, an additional detective to the detective's office this year, just specifically because we are seeing that increase. I want to commend all of our personnel, both commissioned and professional staff, for their exceptional work in responding to and investigating and successfully resolving these challenging cases. They're doing a great job, and hope we can continue to do a good job for the community. And we are also making a huge impact, not only in our community, but our region and the state as well. So thank you for your time, and I can answer any questions that you have.
Anyone have any questions? Councilmember Ball.
Well, first of all, on the officer involved shooting, wasn't that December of 24? You talking about the one in Otis Orchard?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm a year. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
But I wanted to ask you on the use of force, what is a level 1 hold?
Come up here, I'll show you. I'm serious. I'm a DT instructor. Come up here, I'll show you. There's a lot of level 1 holds.
Hard path.
It's a control tactic. So it's not generally meant to elicit any pain. You're not trying to get pain compliance or anything like that. You're trying to gain control. So like an arm bar, a figure four, a Sinkio, gooseneck.
Oh, they all sound delightful.
Yeah, shoulder lock. Here, come here, DC.
I was gonna say, yeah.
All right.
And,
So that's the level
I really
one,
want to
right?
educate.
All right, that's a level one hole, just that.
Oh,
All right, this is a level one hole. All right, all
okay.
right, this is a level one hole.
Oh,
It's just a game. And there's a lot of them, and he's pretty stiff. That's, you need to stretch. Oh, no.
Okay, dare I ask what a level one takedown is?
I'm a pretty-
I'm not coming up there.
You want to see that, right? Yeah, so it's just a takedown. There's no strikes, there's no,
They just-
yeah, you just take them down so you can go from like a level one hold to a level one takedown, and generally all level one holds have a takedown with them. It's just simple. It's a C step or step forward or, yeah, there's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Chief, go ahead. Commissioner Pro Tem.
Hey, I just want to say thanks, hearty thanks, Chief, from everyone, I think, in the community. Specifically, the statistics report interdiction, but what I really appreciate is the community-oriented policing. Within your annual report, you give a great summary of the actual, let's say, outreach that we do to the community in non-confrontational ways to be able to have contact between people and the local police department, builds friendships, builds trust, builds community. So I really appreciate the work of the police in doing that for Liberty Lake.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Kurtz.
Sort of the same vein, just thank you for the community oriented policing. And then there's a group of fifth graders who are super excited about the school resource officer and the program that they're doing. But there's also a group of them that are not there on Tuesdays when they go. And I just wonder if next year, whatever day it is that the resource officer is available, it's not when the particular group of fifth graders is gone for the day because they feel like they're missing out.
Yeah, I'll have to say, that's not our school resource officer.
Who is
That
it?
is something that we're doing for the schools because we love the schools. That is Sergeant Mike Bogenreef.
Yes.
Yeah,
Here, here.
yeah, he's a patrol sergeant and he does it because he loves it.
Here, here.
Yeah, and so, yeah, he does it. The school doesn't pay for it. It's just a service that we give. And we can see what we can do. We just need to coordinate with the school and see if maybe we can get another officer involved that's interested, if it's outside of his time and his schedule. And it's too much for him, and maybe we can do that.
That explains why I have the name of the school resource officer, but they keep talking about Officer Mike and it's not the same guy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yep,
okay,
yep.
perfect.
I had a quick question.
go ahead.
So, and if you need to get back to me on this, that's great. So what's the average turnaround, expected turnaround time in response to crime check reports?
Turnaround time as far as the
So,
time we get those and.
well, so I know there's several steps, right? There's a
Mhm.
time between when the report comes in and then you guys get it. And sometimes they're pretty quick. I've
Mhm.
experienced that, but then other ones may wait a couple days. What's the difference between those and maybe high level wise?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons we wanted to improve our, like, the efficiency and how we respond to those. Some of that was, we had such a large number of crime check cases coming in. And we were trying to divide that work between sergeants. And then we tried one sergeant and we just tried a couple of, different things to see how we can get those assigned, the ones that needed to be assigned, that, we don't assign all of those. I mean, there's sometimes we get those and there's just nothing we can do. They're a dead end. But the ones that we could follow up on are generally assigned to patrol officers for follow-up. And, but sometimes either the sergeants are gone, they're busy, they start to, stack up and they weren't getting assigned in a timely manner. And so there's no specific time frame. It just kind of depended on when a sergeant got in, looked at the list, was able to go through and say, yep, I can assign that one. Nope, we're going to close this one out. And so it varied just a little bit. That's one of the reasons why we have our officers immediately contact the victims now. Because often I know crime check is such a convenience that I think that for some people, it's like, well, I'm just going to call crime check because I don't have time to have an officer come out because I'm busy or whatever. And so now if we can have those officers call them immediately, we're not missing evidence. We're not missing, things that, immediate follow-up that is essential to solving some of the cases, because sometimes if you wait a week or two, evidence disappears and people disappear, and sometimes people change their mind, and whatever it is. And so one of the reasons why we have our officers contact the victims or the complainants right away is so that we can address those crime check reports in the most efficient way that we can. And again, to make sure that those people are getting the service and they don't have to wait around for a week or two, or sometimes 3, or sometimes longer than that, depending on when a sergeant gets to those and assigns those.
Yeah. Yeah, so they typically, and again, this is getting too much in the weeds, like we can have a private conversation, just process wise from crime check, do they also triage how quickly they get things to you guys?
Generally, the crime check, the crime check report writer writes those immediately. So those are immediate. And was there some way some of those were getting lost? I think some of those were getting kind of lost somehow, and I don't know, did we ever figure that out, or did Shrek ever figure that out?
Short answer is no. They had an issue with some of the reports getting written in a timely manner, and it was addressed through the supervisors, and the supervisors were taking care of it. But short answer, it's still every once in a while we do get some flag the thing with crime check balance.
And we were saying, reports come in late that we're required to follow up on by law.
Yeah.
Missing indigenous people, we had one of those where we were like, that where was this at? Like we have to follow up on this. And of course we did our due diligence to follow up on it, and everything turned out well. But just little things like that where we were like missing persons, that was kind of our biggest complaint was those are things that there's certain things we have to do by law in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And like we need those right away. Like they have to write those and get those and make sure that we get those right away. And so there's been great communication with Shrek, and I think a lot of that stuff's been remedied.
Great, thank you. And Councilmember Ball, did you have another question?
Yeah, I was wondering how it's going with the dog and his handler. Are they out there?
Oh yeah, he's out and about. He's doing pretty good. I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he goes, I thought I had a bite a couple of days ago. But yeah, where some bad people ran from him doing some bad stuff in Liberty Lake, and but one of our fleet-feeded officers caught him before.
For the dog?
Yeah.
Are you gonna bring him in here? So
Yeah, we can bring him in.
check. Yeah, bring him in.
You want to go in the bite suit?
Probably dead
don't
tonight,
want
right?
I'll do it.
By the way, I'm ready for another ride along. It's been a little over 2 years.
Whenever
Yeah.
you're ready, come on.
Okay.
Everyone here is welcome.
Anybody else have any
It's a good
questions?
time.
So Chief, before you get away, just to clarify, you mentioned this earlier and it's on this slide that's still up. Would you clarify on the child sex predator operation that netted the arrests? Would you clarify that those arrests were not of people that originated from Liberty Lake? Those arrests were not Liberty Lake.
No, those arrests were not Liberty Lake residents. No, they weren't. We used our office as a base of operation with multiple agencies from around our region. And they ran that operation, and it resulted in the arrest of 16 individuals. And I can't comment on where they're from, but they were not from our city. No.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next up, we are reports and inquiries. First up, we have city council reports. Are there any council members or Mayor Pro Tem who'd like to make a report?
Sure. Over at Spokane Transit Authority, the double deck buses will be returning to service by the end of the month. They're this week exercising some new safety protocols and demonstrating movements around downtown. So STA is working hard to try and ensure safety. Safety is the number one objective in delivery for transportation. A big portion of the bus rapid transit route on to North Division was funded actually this past week at a federal level. And so in an exciting moment, pacing the north-south corridor, STA will be able to deliver on a Division Street bus rapid transit. So that'll be exciting. We're meeting this week in a workshop with the federal lobbyist who supported the work. Some more discussions of assuring and next steps regarding ensuring that funding comes in. I had a chance to visit with a resident. An email came in to me regarding the removal of trees on Sprague. On Friday afternoon, I walked with Jeannie Maurer and her husband from the Liberty Lake Clubhouse out onto Sprague Avenue just to explain the nature of the project. I thought it was a really great opportunity to try and, we'll say, really get some truth out there. Yeah, a lot of people just honestly just don't quite yet understand what the actions are being taken. And so to be calm and to speak with them and to even spend some time with them, it goes a long way. Information provided to them goes on to 10 of their friends and neighbors and so on and so on. So I just look at that as one of the things that we do as council members to try and get word out to people what's really happening. That's what it.
Any other council reports? Councilmember Kurtz?
I don't have a report, but I have I guess an inquiry. For the last couple meetings, we've been moving appointments of board members up. And so I'm wondering if we need to have that as an agenda item or if I can make a motion tonight to suspend the rules so that we don't have to do that every meeting.
Well, I think the permanent change comes with the change of the governance manual. What's the best way to handle that? Sean?
I think that, I don't think there's specifics in the rules of procedure as far as appointments. I think it's just put there because it's under the action items.
Okay.
So to the extent you want to have a specific item for appointments somewhere else in the agenda, you'd have to amend the rules themselves or suspend the rules, each time you want to do it. But I don't think there's a specific line item that says appointments are supposed to go in this locations. It's just because it follows under an action item.
Can we do like a blanket suspension of the rules or does it have to be done every time?
No, you'd have to do it individually each
So
time.
it'd take about as much time as doing what we do now.
Just wanted to
See, good thought though. All right, any other council reports? Not hearing any? Okay, I'll jump in mayor's report real quick. Just catching up on some upcoming items. The Visit Spokane annual meeting is this week. The MAC Business Leaders Breakfast is coming up. GSI Regional Economic Development Forum, that's a little bit more than a half-day event coming up. I think it's this Friday or next Friday. And then I'm attending the All-Day Gonzaga Women Lead Spring Conference. I've been wanting to go for the last couple of years, but have never quite been able to. And having gone through their Women's Leadership Certificate program, be a good time to just kind of catch up on some things and with some of my cohort members and see what else is going on around town with regards to the women's leadership. The next meeting, I'll get into more what's coming after that. Oh, I did. So hot off the press, maybe not quite so hot because I just got my mail. I was gone last week. So we did, unless Mark had this on his agenda, we did, City of Liberty Lake did receive award level of silver from the Commute Smart program. Oh, you got that there. Then what did they send me? Is it the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
We just got it framed.
Okay, got it. All right, so yeah, that was great, and Tate administers that and has been doing a great job, and we should get some more points next year. Looks like we were missing some points because we didn't have any points in 2023, so we should be hitting the gold status or beyond next year. So, and that's it for me, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, guests who are both here in the chamber and online. Just a few things to remind you of as Shane is pulling this up. And you'll get a whole lot more detail on this first reminder when we get down to the legislative update. But tomorrow, actually today, Tuesday, the 17th is the House of Origin cutoff over in the legislature. And I'll talk specifically more about what that means when we get to the update. But the short answer is today is the last day for bills to make it out of the House in which they were introduced if they want to continue along in the process. Second reminder is about the hazard mitigation plan comment period. The county has put this out for comment. And so everyone in the county has an opportunity to not only log in and read the draft version of the plan, but also to make comments on it through Friday, February 20th. And then based on those comments, they will make any edits and then it will go towards adoption likely in late March. City Council retreat, which you're all aware of, is happening a week from tonight, Tuesday, February 24th at City Hall. And we'll have some more conversation about this down the agenda when we get to discussing future agenda items. And then another reminder, we're drawing to a close of our 2026 Community Satisfaction Survey period where we're going to accept responses, and that's going to be through Friday, February 27th. And we're getting really, really close to 400 responses, and those represent 400 households who've responded. That clearly is more than our past 2 years combined. And so we really would like to hit that 400 mark. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to be in the running for a free hour over at the golf simulators and other games at Trailhead. So remember, if you have received an invitation, log in, complete the survey. If you haven't received an invitation, call us. We'll get you set up. And then finally, I said I was going to keep this on until it happened. We have a week or so left, a couple of weeks left before daylight savings time where we get to spring forward an hour. So we're really looking forward to that extra hour of daylight. Any questions about those reminders before we move on to the other items? All right, so I'm going to ask Ben Turner to hop on. We've got an item of employee recognition to make the council aware of with respect to Dan Moss, our arborist. So Ben, take it away.
You're on mute, Ben.
There we go. I got to hit unmute twice. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Mayor. So good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So we're back here again to recognize another superstar on city staff. Dan Moss, who's been our city arborist for about the last year, recently passed his master certified arborist exam. And I didn't realize how hard that was. And then I started doing a little bit more research. So the master certification represents about 2% of the arborist community. And I didn't know what that meant until I looked up, and there's really only 1,000 people on the planet that have this certification. There's a couple in Spokane. I don't know how many are in the state of Washington, but we're very lucky to have one of those here, and especially in a city the size of Liberty Lake. So we're really looking forward to what Dan's got in store. He's got a lot of great plans come springtime. We're going to see some opportunities for volunteering, things like that. So we just want to officially recognize Dan, and he is online. He may still be at his dog obedience course with his dog, but if he has a chance to get on camera and share a quick thought with us, that'd be great.
There he is.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. I appreciate the public recognition of, what I feel is one of my big milestones as a certified arborist. I was able to get Zaz under control. He is now a more obedient dog, so happy days there. Just real quick, I just wanted to say thanks to, Ben and the City of Liberty Lake to help allow me to further my education and better suit the needs of the city here. So helps me see the trees through the forest and maybe help our urban forest a little bit better. So thank you all.
Well, thanks for your hard work, Dan. Your contributions have been well noted by citizens in the community. So we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Congrats, Dan.
Thanks.
All right, and then finally, I'm going to quickly go through a legislative update. I mentioned earlier that today is the House of Origin cutoff. And so what you'll see when this comes up is essentially a matrix of all of the bills that we are tracking that are associated with one of our legislative priorities. And so Shane, if you could go to the next slide, you're going to see these grouped by the strategic priority that we kind of framed our legislative priorities in. And so the reason the House of Origin cutoff is important is because some of these bills that you see noted here are going to fall off of this list as of midnight because they would not have made it out of the House of Origin. And so without trying to identify specifically which ones those are, because sometimes you have these last minute things that happen that extend the life of a bill. So by tomorrow, we'll know the answers to these and we can update this. But just to give you a little bit of a taste of some of the things that we are tracking, you'll see there that we've got 16 total, and this page doesn't represent all 16. There's some on another slide. But we've grouped these by the strategic priority, like I mentioned before. And so you can see with economic vibrancy and opportunity, we have 7 of these, the most of any of the priorities. And a lot of these are dealing with tax statutes or land use kinds of things. You'll see both of the essentially income tax items as the bottom two. The reason it's on there twice is because there are two bills that are working their way through each house. And so those have already been passed by their respective houses. So those two will move on. And you can see that we're in an opposed position there. With the public service excellence, we specifically had this noted as wanting to make sure that we preserved management rights when it comes to collective bargaining. And there's a bill out there that's working its way through that kind of tries to redefine that. So we've got that on as an opposed position. Shane, if you can go to the next slide. And then finally, we've got the last three priorities represented. We've got planned growth and infrastructure, and you can see the items here that are dealing mostly with like development code stuff and Growth Management Act kinds of things. There's a bill in there. We just heard Kyle brief you about the TIF deduction that's taken off of the property tax revenue before it comes to us. There's some changes that are being proposed to clean up some changes that were made in the last legislature with this tax increment financing bill that we support. Public safety and well-being, public safety probably has the most aggregate bills working their way through. Some of them don't make their way out of committee. And so the ones that we are keeping an eye on that you can see here, the Concerning Driver Privacy Protections Bill is the Flock bill. We're currently opposing that bill because of the language, but it has made it through the Senate and will be taken up by the House. And then we've got two bills concerning electric assisted bikes and motorcycles. We've talked quite a bit about that. And so both of those bills are working their way, one through the House and one through the Senate. And then finally, the quality of life and connectedness priority. This is a long way of saying the public camping bill. 2489 is the public camping bill. And it basically takes all authority away from municipalities to limit public camping. And so we're clearly opposed to that. So as these continue to make their way through, and as others may become resurrected because somebody tries to connect them to a budget or something like that, we will add those and continue to monitor. And once again, I'd like to thank Joko Calais, our Gonzaga law student, who's helping keep all of this straight for us as we work our way through this short session. That's all that I have for you with respect to this update. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Anybody? Councilmember Ball?
I just have a comment. There was a story in the paper this morning about the e-bikes and e-motorcycles. And sounds like they're going to decide that e-motorcycles, anything that goes over 20 miles an hour and doesn't have pedals shouldn't be on a sidewalk, and a kid shouldn't be driving it. So I hope that comes to fruition so people don't freak out anymore when a kid comes roaring up behind them on an e-motorcycle, saying, well, it's an e-bike, but it's not, it's two different things. So it's a good article.
Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay. All right, next up, I don't think we have Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District, but I'll put it out there just in case. I don't see anybody. All right, Parks and Arts Commission. Welcome, Nancy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There we are. And I have some slides that'll be coming up. We've been continuing to work with the SCJ Alliance on our parks plan, and our role just is to be a sounding board for that. The heavy lifting is definitely done by the consulting firm and by Jen Camp and her team, but we're happy to be a part of it. And we're looking forward to reviewing the final draft and helping with the final edit so that can move forward and meet guidelines. It's been interesting, I think, a big learning experience about all the things that go into the long range planning. I think we have one more little piece we'll work on where what our process looks like for the next 20 years. So we'll have to get a little creative there. Next slide. Excited about the Kramer Together fused art piece. You've seen the metal pieces. This is a draft that Ben Turner provided of what the landscaping would look like. It'll be dry scape there on the corner. It's pretty rocky and arid, so that's going to be respected. We're going to try to find a little bit of money in our budget to possibly add some solar lights to highlight it. You'll see in this picture, there's no fused glass. Has to be 70 degrees for that to be installed because of the adhering materials. So as soon as we get that, and hopefully the landscaping will be done, we'll look forward to that dedication. And we have prepared already and have it in hand, the dedication plaque that will go at the site, recognizing the artist. But it's really going to look fantastic when it's up and everything's done. And Ben was telling us there's some more property and that kind of Kramer Triangle, as I call it, behind there that also has the potential possibly for additional art or a bench or something else there. So we'll look at that as time goes by. Next slide. We have a lot of projects in the works between our few carryovers from last year and this year. The Kramer Corner, we're looking at the lighting and landscaping as just described. The signal box at the Kramer Corner there, and then at the original main entrance to Legacy is all ready to go. We need 50-degree weather for that. So at least we don't have to wait as long as the 70-degree weather. So that should be going up soon. And once we get past this little bit of a snowstorm, the artist is working on our first goat sculptures for Town Square. I'm hoping it'll be installed before summer, but because he said he's got to do the work in the winter because it's working with forged steel and it's hot. So hopefully he'll be done, but he is working on that. We also have an artist working on the city birthday art, and the goal is to unveil it at the birthday celebration, and that seems to be all on track. Rocky Hill mural, we're just starting to talk about that basketball court mural there. We hope to do like we did before and have some designs to choose from, and maybe have a committee with council and some citizens to pick the design like we did at Pavilion Park, and that's going to add a bit of color to Rocky Hill. We're working with our art consultant on the new City Hall building art. We were just given the plans and looked at it. Will likely be something on the outside of the building because there's not a lot of property. There's a sidewalk and a parking lot. The inside of the building, we have an opportunity to do, I forgot what the art consultant called it. I'll call it portable art. So that might be a movable sculpture, a painting, something that can be changed in and out. And so we're working with her on that. And we're excited about being a part of the new City Hall project. The donated rock garden, oh my gosh, they reported on that. Liberty Lake Better Together as the donor. And they are going around to all the schools in our area and soliciting participation from the kids there in providing rocks. And when I heard how many schools they've already had say yes, I'm thinking we need a bigger garden. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, but that's going to be a really exciting thing. And I'm assuming I'll have to see what their vision is, but we'll have some big to do with kids there and everything when the rocks are actually placed in the garden. And that'll happen as we move into spring and the site can be prepared. Thank you for approving the Rainbow Bridge project last time. Talked to Mara. She's going to enlist a landscape architect to give kind of a visual drawing, and then we'll have some sample signage so you can take a look at that before we actually break ground on that. But we're all excited about that and think will be a nice addition to Rocky Hill Park. We have a little bit of maintenance at the skate park. It gets hard use and the paint doesn't always hold up. So we have that in our budget, our first ever use of our maintenance budget that we now have every year, which was smart, as I think we have Mark to thank for that. Well, you better be able to maintain this stuff. So we're using that. So that'll be touched up. We've already been in touch with the original artist to do the work. We're also looking at an extension of the mural, at least hopefully the ticket booth began before the birthday celebration. The city rebuilt the ticket booth and it's ready for just a little art like in the windows of the booth to make it really seem like it is a ticket booth. And then the final project is the story walk at the ball fields along Country Vista there on the side, and we're waiting for the school to see if they have the time to take on that because the students do the fabrication. So we're still hoping that can take place and they can do the work in the spring. So next slide. And I'll end with the visual for the rock garden. As you can see, it's going to be a great addition to the corner of Moulter and Country Vista there. And we'll greet people as they enter the park, and super close, accessible to the elementary schools. And I know they're all really, really excited about the project, and it's going to be a nice little addition. And that's pretty much what we're working on. Any questions? All right.
Any questions? Just a quick note, I was at the DMV today getting a replacement title, and the lady next to the one I was working with heard me say my name, and she's with the pyrotechnic group that does our fireworks.
Oh,
And
yes.
they're very excited for the 4th of July this year. So
Well,
pass
it's
that-
going to be a big deal, I think. A lot of unveiling
Yeah.
and new stuff to look at.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. All right. Yes.
I have a question. What's the little building on Pavilion Park that looks like an outhouse? It even has the little moon shape in it.
Oh, that you mean at Rocky Hill?
Yeah, Rocky Hill, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just speaking from what I think. There was those, like a utility kind of thing that stuck out of the ground and it was ugly. And is Jen Camp online still?
She is.
I'm sure she
I'm not
can
sure
explain
what-
it. It's very cute.
I just wonder, I know it's darling, but I'm like, what is it? Yeah.
It's to cover up the ugliness, I believe.
Yes,
Let's
it's covering up an old irrigation post that we couldn't take out. So with it, the guys just got creative and covered it up.
And I love the little half moon.
It's like a little outhouse, Jen.
Rocky Hill Park is painted the right color. Because I walk by it every day. And I
it's
thought,
dark-
"Hey, someone
yeah.
was creative."
Yeah, it's really cute, but I'm like,
We can't take credit for that. That's Jen and her team.
okay.
All right, any other questions? All
No.
right, thanks to you
Thanks,
and
thank you
everybody
so
for your
much.
hard work. All right, next up, community engagement.
Thank you for allowing time for us this evening on what I can tell is an ambitious agenda. My name is Bill Norman, and this is Leah Stussy. We were just elected recently, I to serve as the chairperson for the Community Engagement Commission, and Leah as our vice chair for 2-year terms that began on the January 1st of this year. We have 3 objectives we'd like to achieve this evening. The first is just to give you a sense of actually, don't pay no attention to the screen. I didn't want you to be nervous that maybe we didn't bring a slide deck, because who would come to city council without a slide deck? So we have one, but they're just 2 slides and we're not going to get to it for a moment. So the first is to talk about our current scope of work. The second is to give you a sense of staffing and the challenges that we face in that regard. And then the third is to make a request of the city council. The farmers market, which operates between May and October of each year, sort of provides bookends for that period of time when we see the most activity as a community engagement commission. Which is to say that the months between November and April are typically more quiet, with the exception of Christmas and winter activities and any special projects that the city council might have, as in town hall meetings and the like. But in spite of this being what we consider a quiet time, currently Mark Saba and Logan Langford are serving the commission as participants in the Sidewalk Master Plan Working Group. And Leah here is representing the commission on the 20-year Capital Facilities Working Group. So these people represent the commission, they attend the meetings and report back to the Community Engagement Commission, giving us the opportunity to have a sense of how the ideas are developing, return with our own suggestions, and anticipate opportunities to contribute to the direction and the success of these strategies. As cities, departments, boards, and commissions invite our participation, we've typically formed small working groups of 2 or 3 members, which then can liaise with them. And this allows us to be more available to service across the community. And I will say that we feel, all of us, that we're underutilized. We have more bandwidth. Our participation comes cheap, which is worth consideration and should not be confused with value. So we're available. I just explained that we have new officers, and I was going to make a plug for Lori. And I'm so pleased that you went ahead and approved her. We're so grateful to have her serving with us on the commission. And that brings our current number of commissioners to 8. The maximum provided by the ordinance is 9. Later this year, the commission will begin its 5th year of service. That might seem kind of amazing. It does to me. During that time, we functioned with between 5, which is the minimum number allowed by the ordinance, and 7 members. At the time of our meeting in December of 2025, for one bright and shining moment, we had 9. But 2 of our members who sought election to the city council began their service in this august body on January of this year. Now we can look at the slide deck. The ordinance originally specified 2 members from each of 4 geographic zones that were defined by north and south by Liberty Lake Road and Harvard Road, and running east and west I-90. In April of 2024, the City Council approved a revision recommended by the Commission that reduced the requirement to just 1 member per geographic area with 5 at large. There's also a term limiting restriction, and these, the geographic and term limiting restrictions of the ordinance in its original form, were put in place as a way of ensuring representation for our various neighborhoods in the first place, and secondly, for stimulating turnover of membership and fresh thinking. And while those objectives are worthy of our best effort, the geographic limitation has meant that willing and capable applicants could have been passed over because of where they live. The term limitation means that capable and experienced contributors will be forced to leave the commission, and we will again be in a deficit position in terms of number of commissioners. Regarding the geographic limitation, our city just isn't that big. It isn't as though I never travel east of Liberty Lake Boulevard and don't know what I would find if I went there, or that I never stray north of the I-90. We know the neighborhoods in our city. All of us have ties to several neighborhoods, if not all of them. And so we can contribute to outreach and connection in a variety of ways in all of the neighborhoods of our community. Regarding the term limitation, the fact that the ordinance requires each commissioner to reapply at the end of each term and be reappointed by the city council assures the opportunity for critical assessment of each person's contribution and potential, as well as the chance to weigh their reappointment against the application of other interested persons. So I just want that to sink in. So what we're recommending here, let me see, is this the second slide?
Yes.
Go back to the first slide, please. What we're asking is that all members of the Community Engagement Commission shall be in at-large positions. So the purpose of the slide is to offer a suggestion about how the ordinance, the wording in the ordinance might be changed. Now we can go to our slick slide 2. And what we're asking for here is just to eliminate the reference to a limitation of 2 terms. I will say on behalf of all of us, it is a pleasure to be serving our city council. We hope that you will consider these recommendations. They'll make our work a little bit easier. And finally, I hope that you will just keep us in mind as you work with other boards and commissions and let them know that we're looking for work.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? My suggestion would be that we put this on a future workshop. I don't expect it would be a very long one. And then it would follow with a first and second read of the amendment, just for process standpoint. Councilmember Kurtz.
Part of the governance manual has the boards and commissions, and I think part of the intent of putting that in there was to make it consistent for all of them. So maybe that's something that can be looked at too, is whether all of the appointment pieces apply to all of them, and then updating each of the individual commission ordinances maybe this year to line up with all of that together, which is some work, but I think we've talked about it enough for a while that it would be nice to get feedback from the different commissions about what their recommendations are and be able to implement those so that it works with some, so we can move forward all together.
We did our own research before coming to you, and we found that there is quite a disparity.
Yeah.
Among the commissions and boards.
We have a lot more restrictions than the other commissions as far as the language in our membership.
And we think our ideas are best.
We love it. All right. Well, thank you guys. I don't think we have any other questions, but we really appreciate your work and looking forward to continued assistance from you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I think that's it for reports and inquiries. Am I missing anybody? No.
Workshop.
Okay, up to workshops, transportation resiliency plan. We have Beth Miller from Parametrics, and we got Amy on here. Good to see you, Beth. You're on mute.
Let me unmute. Hi, good to see you too.
Amy, I don't know if you were coming on.
Good evening, everyone. How's my volume?
Oh, no. Now we need to turn you up.
How is that? Is that better?
That's great. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So this transportation resiliency plan is actually a smaller piece of the broader climate planning that we were directed to do by House Bill 1181. The transportation focus is not one that's part of the mandated elements, but this actually came out of our public engagement efforts that we worked through in the first biennium with our climate policy advisory team and other agency stakeholders. It's really meant to inform other planning efforts like our transportation element of our comprehensive plan and our emergency response. So with that, actually, I'll pass it over to Beth to kind of get into some of the more detailed.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Right. Okay. You see it? Yes, looks good. Okay. Thank you for taking the time to look at this. I know it's a packed agenda, so I appreciate it. All right, so I'm just going to talk about our transportation resiliency plan. So let's see if I can get it to advance. All right, so the idea here is to think of the resilience of your transportation system. Think about how that's going to be affected by climate change. It's important, obviously, because it supports evacuation, emergency response, and just day-to-day being in the town and driving through the town, economic activities and household activities. And then of particular importance that came out in our outreach and talking to people in the CPAT is the fact that climate change is increasing wildfire, smoke, and heat risks. So we want to make sure that your system is resilient to those kinds of threats in the future. Make sure it remains reliable during emergencies. So when it comes to sort of future projections for climate, what we expect to see is increase in drought, especially in the late summer, increase in temperatures, which is all a big recipe for wildfire, which I think is like not news to anyone, even currently, not just in the future. So when it comes to your transportation system, so hotter, drier summers increase high fire danger days and just increase the risk of fire overall, the need to evacuate, the need to be resilient to active fire. Smoke reduces visibility and air quality, and wildfires can disrupt access even without sort of directly disrupting infrastructure, right? It can close down roads. It can create the need to move emergency vehicles in and out. So we want to think about your whole system and make sure that that we're thinking about that with a wildfire lens. So we're going to sort of take a systematic approach to looking at all of the transportation corridors in Liberty Lake and basically assess them in terms of how critical they are, right? So how many people use them, rely on them, what are the speeds, what are the different services they are connecting people to. Vulnerability, in this case, it really is just looking at how vulnerable those roads are to wildfire. And I would say we're also looking sort of beyond just the borders of Liberty Lake itself, because one of the things that we heard when we were talking to people is that Liberty Lake sort of gets traffic from people a lot of south of the lake moving through Liberty Lake to get to the interstate, especially in terms of evacuation. So we want to make sure that we think about vulnerability of the sort of everybody that's using Liberty Lake roads. And then sort of overlaying those two things to identify where your priorities sort of help prioritize where you need to take action. And then one more level that we added after talking to Planning Commission is looking at where we expect to see increases in traffic due to like future population growth. So overlay that too on top of our priority based on criticality and vulnerability currently. All right. Okay, so we'll just get into it. You've got these maps also in your packets. So this is looking at the transportation criticality. So you can see sort of the main roads are the most critical corridors, right? So, Liberty Lake Road, Country Vista Road. And also you see sort of the connectors to communities south and around the lake also pop out as relatively critical because those are the ways that people actually need to use to get from their home to anywhere else. Right. So vulnerability, this is really driven by the proximity to the WUI wildland urban interface. So this is places that are particularly vulnerable to potential wildfire. This is places where we would expect people to overlap with wildfire. So these roads, and you can see it's sort of exactly what you might expect. The more far flung, the more vegetated, closer to wild areas are the more vulnerable areas. But I would also note that like the whole of Liberty Lake is pretty close to wildfire prone areas. So it's the vulnerability is pretty widespread across town. And then the next step is just basically overlaying these two things to prioritize, where to really, what places are really going to be critical and which places are vulnerable. And finally, we also included data from the transportation network analysis to look at where there were projected increases in traffic volumes and looked at how those changed the criticality of different corridors in the city. And of course, it's a little bit limited, right? So it didn't look at increased traffic volume all over all of the streets in the city in the same way, but we can see where those critical big jumps are expected to be. And so there weren't a whole lot of changes in priority in terms of like something that is high priority now and will be high priority in the future. It was really only that North Moulter Road near Sprague is that point where it increased in its future criticality, increasing its overall priority. Would you like me to pause for questions now, or should we wait until there's not much more? Just finish.
I think that you can proceed.
Okay. All right, so resilience strategies for this, right? Vegetation management along those critical corridors, those high priority corridors, making sure that when you're paving, when you're repaving, you're really thinking about the more durable surfaces that are more likely to stand up to extreme heat and climate change, because they're going to be critical in terms of any evacuation and moving an emergency response in town. And then also coordinating this with your emergency coordination and public communication, things like evacuation signage, messaging, your operational plans, how you're going to address moving people through the city and responding to emergencies. So the next steps for this is really to integrate these priorities into the capital improvement program, coordinate with your emergency management and fire agencies, and also the hazard mitigation plan annex for Liberty Lake. And finally, this is going to keep changing as people decide where they want to move and where the population changes. So update it as conditions and development change. All right. So maybe I'll go back to sort of the upshot and take any questions.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
So to paraphrase this, my observation, it's up to us now to take the criticality, the combinations of this, and to make use of it for capital improvements, specifically roadways and transportation. Identify this is a good way to use prioritization to where we see projects that will ensure the viability of these roads.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we tried to provide here, is like, this is right here, look here, put that at the top of your list.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Councilmember Ball.
Okay, so let's see. On page 43 of our packet, item 4.1.2. So my question is who does this pre-event planning, and who is responsible for public communication?
I think I'm going to kick that to Amy, if I could, for her increased knowledge of how things work at the city.
So that would be the Emergency Operations Center and any auxiliary structure that we put into that at the city level. We currently don't have our own EOC.
Right.
We rely on the county for that function, although we have emergency responders and we coordinate with them very closely. But currently that function is provided by the county.
Yeah, because it says traveler information, including coordination on messaging related to smoke conditions, closures, and evacuation routes. So we're depending on the county to do that for us?
On the Emergency Operations Center, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. I think that's it for questions right now.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Beth.
Thank you very much.
Good work as always. Thank you.
Good to see you. Bye.
All right. Next up in our workshops is the new city logo. I'm going to have Mark start this one off.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So this is just really an opportunity to have a conversation among the council and hear your thoughts about a potential pursuit of a new logo, what that would mean, what it doesn't mean, and some of the reasoning behind this, some of the opportunity in front of us in looking to do this, and then some of the impact that would result if council chooses to move forward with an endeavor like this, and how we would, you heard Bill talk about looking for work. I mean, this would be a project, obviously, that we would include the Community Engagement Commission in from the start. And so with that, we can turn it over to the council or to the mayor if you want to provide, Mayor, any other comments before we get started with a roundtable discussion, but I can answer any questions that you may have about impacts or costs associated with impacts as we get into the discussion. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I do want to clarify, this did come up, I think in early 21 or 22, somewhere in there. And at that time, we were looking at almost a rebranding effort, and there was a price tag, $12,000 attached to that. That was engaging with a professional firm to help with the rebranding. This is a logo refresh. They are two totally different things. And we're looking to do as much of it as we can in-house, simplify things. We will have to, and Mark can get into this at some point, engage a graphic designer to provide us with the proper files so that we can do what we need to do with it. But people have said, but both in the previous discussions and I've seen the chatter on the community page, police vehicles have not had the city logo on them for at least 10 plus years, maybe more than that, close to 15 years. Yes, there are, our vehicles that we have out there, other, regular vehicles and gators and all that have our logo on it. We replace about 25 to 30% of those each year anyway, because of fading and weather-related things. Business cards, things like that, we would not replace until you use up your current box, and they're not that expensive. Nobody buys letterhead anymore. It gets printed when you need to write a letter. So all these things that are coming up, we're expecting any cost associated with the, materials to be fairly nominal, and Mark has some estimates on those. So the question really is, what's the process to go through and redo the logo again, refresh, not a rebranding of the city? How do we engage the public with that, and how do we roll it out? So I'll go ahead and turn it back to Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So kind of as the mayor described, think logo refresh. We have a current official city logo. We have some other logos that are used from time to time. And so I think the opportunity exists for the city to define what our look is going into our post 25 years of incorporation. We're celebrating that anniversary this year, and what that looks like and how we can best make that transition if council so chooses. I will tell you, to follow up on the mayor's point, from a cost perspective, we don't know what the cost would be to create the files using generative AI to come up with concepts is advisable. We would probably do that ourselves. Some of our staff members have already started doing that. But to the mayor's point, we would at some point need to get those files that can be scaled and can be that have the right color combinations that are fixed, so that we can define those things as we go into possibly embroidery or printing banners or things like that, where you're scaling the logo and want it to look the same regardless of the scale. From replacing emblems or decals on vehicles, the total cost of that, even if we did every vehicle in year one, would be less than $1,500. And so it's a fairly nominal cost. Again, not sure what the engagement of a graphic designer would be, but that would be the other cost associated with doing a refresh. So.
And David had made a point this morning during our agenda review, things that have been in place for a very long time. And I know we've got the rock out here. I think it's carved into the rock. That wouldn't change. I wouldn't propose that we would, that's a great legacy thing for this city. Those are not things that I don't think we would look at changing as historical things. So again, up to the council for discussion. The design rules and guidelines have changed a lot over 25 years. I don't think a lot of people still realize that there are zeros and ones in that logo. They do not play well with different uses of the logo. And even, and to have a logo that translates well to black and white is even something that we need to make sure we consider. So things have changed over the years. And again, we're talking refresh, and there is a lake on the logo. We don't have a lake. technically. And David even pointed out, that the lake is curved. The lake is curved. It's not like the horizon that is actually flat. Little things like that, I think over 25 years, we can tweak and do something like that. But I'll turn it over to the council for some discussion. So whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
So my first question is, number one, why? Number two, the reason for the lake was because although we have no property, south of Sprague, it was very important during the time, and I lived it, that we include that part of our entire community. Because when you say Liberty Lake, you have a lake.
And I'm not proposing to take it out. I
And
think it's
so
funny.
my question is, are we talking about a complete redo, or are we talking about enhancing what we have?
In my mind, it's a refresh is not a redo. What do we have? How do we modernize it? Things like that. And that's just kind of my question. Go ahead.
The reason between the 0 and the 1 is Mr. Bernard Daines. That's where that came from.
Is what?
Bernard Daines. That's where that came from, Mr. Daines, because we occupied his space and he was instrumental at the time. And I think now it's passed down to children of the Daines family. Am I right?
Yes, yeah.
And they were instrumental at that time. We would not be a city without him. So as you can see, I'm very passionate. I agree. I think it needs modernized. There's a lot of color in that, and it's not cheap to put on cars and those types of things, but to redo it entirely, I'm absolutely opposed to that. This is our legacy. This is our city.
Understood. I'm not sure who was first, Councilmember Ball or Kurtz.
I just have a question. I mean, someone asked me this the other day, what is our logo? Is this it?
No, our logo is what's on that sign over there.
Oh, okay.
It's this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's confusing because.
So we have a logo, we have a flag, that's from
That's a
the
flag.
flag,
Okay.
which has different design elements, and we went through a whole process led by Mayor Pro Tem Dunn years ago now to get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Arlene, where's the numbers on this? Is it?
You can't see it, but if you have the original, and I know it's here somewhere, there are 0s and 1s, and those, yeah, there, Dan, thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
in the yellow.
in the yellow, in the yellow, see that? Bernard Daines, Mr. Daines, and yeah.
It's a technical 0s and 1s.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Councilmember Kurtz, you were next.
So I think when we talked about this very briefly before, I think there was a commitment to not lose the legacy, but maybe to do something new. And I think a 25-year mark is a good time to do that. What I was wondering is Ridgeline has a graphic design program, and they have youth that have been redoing some logos like the hub. And I just wonder if there's a way to engage with youth in our community as we're trying to revamp the youth commission, some sort of prize, some sort of scholarship, some sort of something, a contest, to potentially see if they'd be willing to do something like that. Because I think it would be something that I think it'd be cool.
Yeah. Right. Councilmember Darrow.
Wondering if there's an opportunity, since it is a fairly nominal cost and things that do need to be updated yearly anyway, if there's an opportunity for a specific event, our anniversary logo that lasts for a year and is special and has maybe an element of the old and some new and some youth engagement and something like that, maybe an opportunity for a special logo for that year celebration, and not necessarily tabling, a new refresh, but maybe that's just another thought.
Well, by the time we get there, the year's going to be more than half done.
Some specific celebration of that wouldn't, anyway.
And Councilmember Darrow, the Parks and Arts Commission is working on a special commemorative something. They haven't defined exactly what that is yet, that would contain that anniversary logo.
Councilmember Fuller.
Yeah, I was just curious. So what's the overarching goal for it? All I've heard is basically a refresh, because I'm kind of with Arlene or Councilperson Morrow, is, there's a lot of legacy there. It's maybe an expense we don't need to incur right now. Unless there's like something really overarching that can improve our overall look, outside of Liberty Lake, I can't imagine that there's a lot of citizens that are, invested in changing that from what we already have. So can anybody kind of share what the vision or the overarching goal of making the changes other than just refresh?
So I can, so staff is not proposing this idea, but what I can tell you from just the input that we've received is that, number one, we're coming up on a milestone anniversary that gives some opportunity to think about what image the city wants to project going forward from 26 on to something. As you heard the mayor indicate, the current logo has some issues when you try to use it in certain digital environments. And so this would give us an opportunity to correct those things and give the community an opportunity to provide input as to what they believe the image should be going forward. So this is not something that would be proposed that we go hire a graphic designer, they bring back designs and somebody says yay or nay. This would be something that would be sort of crowdsourced, if you want to call it that, and give the community an opportunity to help define what that image is going forward.
So do we know specifically what elements that are kind of confounding the whole digital reproduction and stuff? And could we focus in on those elements specifically?
I suppose if you wanted to limit the parameters, you could do that. Specifically, it's the font and the binary data in the background of the logo.
And you could just represent it in a different way.
Sure, if that was kind of the
overall.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mayor Bartek?
Yeah, I do support the concept of a vision or a consideration of an alternate vision for the next, I guess I'd say 25 or 50 or beyond that years. I do recognize that the logo is limited, specifically in its fine detail, precludes it mechanically from being reproduced effectively. So yeah, I support the idea of consideration of something different. I think it's an opportunity.
Councilmember Ball.
Well, respecting the heritage that Councilmember Fisher, I shouldn't have called you Arlene before, it just came out.
Did the same thing.
Yeah. Couldn't we just like where it says established 2001, teeny tiny there above the Y, somehow incorporate 25 years, and just kind of leave it alone?
Well, I mean, that is a possibility, understood, but I'm focusing a lot on, the way it is now, it is difficult for us to use it in certain situations. It doesn't translate well to digital use. Maybe, putting on shirts, putting on banners, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's, the font that's used, the zeros and the ones, some of the fine detail that's in there.
The font could be changed.
Well, that's why I'm saying that's not we're not recreating it, it's a refresh. And those are the elements I think we really want to look at.
So one of the, just to give you some background, and of course, this can be done in a number of ways, but one of the most prevalent ways to go through a project like this is part of the scope would be finding out what people who would be part of some kind of steering, call it a committee, would like about the existing logo, right? That you start there. What do you like about, from a heritage perspective, from a historical perspective, and then you build upon that. And so you're not, again, to the point, going at this from a complete white canvas perspective. It's an attempt to start with what most people like about the current logo and then building off of that. And then at the end of the day, hopefully you come up with something that is consistent with the original look, but then is able to be sort of visioned into the future for some period of time beyond 2026.
Almost like a focus group, kind of.
Yes.
I really like your choice of words, Mark, in saying, what do people like about and what could be different? And specifically those words as a charge, maybe supported by the Community Engagement Commission. To try and collect from people's statements and observations that could support that.
Councilmember Darrow.
So for the comprehensive plan, there was a there was a small focus group, there was a small group that worked with generative AI and came up with a very basic logo. But during that process, it was list the words that you think represent Liberty Lake in the future, et cetera. So I think that something along those lines through the Community Engagement Commission. I know we have a million surveys and ways of polling citizens would be useful information and a way to approach that. Also, I mean, I would also definitely support just an update of the font, an update of sort of making this a little bit, just a little bit easier to reproduce, just a true refresh. I would certainly support that as well.
Yes. Councilmember Ball.
So I do have a question though. I mean, explain again, what's the significance of the zeros and the ones?
Digital.
It's a
It was,
digital.
we were supposed to be a tech hub. And so the zeros and the ones are computer binary, right, coding, essentially, because we were a tech hub.
You were code.
Yeah.
I mean, we are a tech hub. Let's face it, we are.
Yes. The recession, I think, limited the expansion of it, but, yes, you're right. No.
Yeah, one more comment is that, I think through this refresh process, let's be sure and talk to some of the originals. We have Judy Owens, we have Scott Bernard, many of the originals are still in the community. And I think to get their perspective on why and how also provides people with background and consideration for the future, because that why is, I can't answer all the why because I can't answer for them, but it was a big deal.
Yeah. And I think it's possible to pay homage to that and still have a refresh that looks, that is easier to reproduce, easier to use, but we still incorporate that history. We don't want to lose that. Councilmember Kurtz.
At the end of the day, would the final decision rest with us about which logo to choose, or would we do something different?
That's up to you guys.
Well,
Councilmember Ball.
yeah, well, whatever, however we decide or choose, this needs to happen pretty quick. Cause we're talking June July is the celebration.
Right.
So this can't be kicked around for too long.
I think it'd be nice to have a combination where you have the community kind of put forth, or our group put forth a number of different options, and then the council can vote on the final one.
So I'm hearing, maybe we want to go, start the process, because obviously, what we're going to do really isn't going to cost us anything to start, get some concepts going, and then go from there. Is there any major opposition to that? Okay. No. Mark, what do you need from the council at this point?
I mean, it sounds like there's a consensus to move forward in that direction. If we can confirm that, we have actually a meeting of the Community Engagement Commission tomorrow. We're gonna have to amend the agenda, but we can get this on and have them start discussing tomorrow night. But it looks like I'm seeing 6 nodding heads, so, okay.
All right, and you've got kind of the marching orders, with regards to, keeping certain elements and, a true refresh instead of a reimagining.
Right.
Okay, great. Sorry, I guess my watch is telling me it's bedtime. That's not gonna happen. All right, now that we have that passed, we're up to general business, consent agenda, Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda 10 items A through F.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Ball. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda items 10A through F, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0.
Madam Mayor, I move general business action, item 11C, Police Department Security Door Installation Projects.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Darrow. Do we have any questions on this item? All right, not hearing any. Those in favor of approving the purchase order to authorize payment of invoice from Access Unlimited not to exceed $8,200, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, not hearing any. Motion passes 6-0.
Madam Mayor, I move general business action, item 11D, donation of police evidence refrigerator.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember
first
Klingler. Yeah.
Gotta be speedy on this, council.
Awesome, yeah. We don't want to extend the meeting, that's why. All right, so those in any questions on this, I think huge shout out to Home Depot for the donation. It's really nice of them. So those in favor of accepting the donation of the police evidence refrigerator, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes 6-0. Okay, we're up to council comments. Anything aside from upcoming agenda items? Anything else the council wants to add tonight? All right, not hearing any. We have no public hearings or appeals. We do have a resolution. Turn that over to Rochelle.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 20-280A. A resolution of the City of Liberty Lake adopting the Liberty Lake Network Analysis Update.
Okay, we have any questions or comments on the resolution? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution 20-280A.
I'll second. Okay, we have a second by Councilmember Fisher. Any questions or discussion on this? All right, not hearing any. Those in favor of approving resolution, citizen comments. Thank you. I heard you start to talk. For resolutions, we do ask for citizen input. So if you're here in chambers or online, you would like to make a comment on this topic only, resolution 20-280A. Please let us know. If there's anybody online, just send a note to our meeting host in the chat feature. Anxiously awaiting anybody. Nobody so far. Doesn't look like anybody in chambers. All right. All right. So those in favor of approving resolution 20-280A, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? My motion passes 6-0. And we do have an ordinance and this is the second read. Yep. So we have a second read ordinance. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Rochelle again.
Ordinance 316, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, establishing the Liberty Lake Police Department Evidence Custodial Fund and providing for other matters properly related thereto.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move ordinance 316.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Ball. Any questions on this? We've had a workshop. We've had and we had the first read at the last meeting. Are there any questions? Kyle's online somewhere, or they must be in his office if there are any questions. I don't hear any. All right, again, we'll open up for public comment on ordinance 316. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Anybody online? Since nobody's jumping up here in chambers. All right. Those in favor of approving ordinance 316, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, not hearing any. Motion passes 6-0. All right, we have no emergency ordinances. Introduction of upcoming agenda items. All right, so we have the next week is our council retreat. And we typically don't get into a lot of detail on this. Does anybody have any questions about next week? I think, Mark, were you going to address a little bit of that real quick with regards to food and?
Sure, and I'll talk to individuals offline about specific menu things. But with respect, we are going to serve food. With respect to the draft agenda that I sent out, and I think the mayor sent out some additional information. What you see in both of those is an attempt to use the retreat as an opportunity to build team dynamics, talk about communication, talk about achieving objectives, not necessarily what those objectives are. And so that's kind of the tone of the agenda. And so we need to finalize it so that we can get it to you, so you know what you're walking into on the 24th. But with respect to kind of the overlap and the dovetailing of those two documents that you received, are there any specific concerns, any specific things that you say, we must do that, or I really don't want to do that, so that we can shape that and get it into a final form as quickly as possible between now and Tuesday?
Mayor Pro Tem.
I would support some voicing from Annie that, yeah, this remain, I'd say, communication and team building. We will have special sessions and we will have special meetings to cover hard-hitting agenda and priority and other actions. So, yeah, to preserve it in that spirit.
All right.
Right, so in that case, look for today's Tuesday. I would expect by the close of business Thursday that we could get you a final agenda, so that you can start not necessarily preparing, but just getting ready for knowing what's going to happen on Tuesday. So.
Yeah, well, Mark and I met a little bit earlier today, think about, what you're gonna be wanting to share from a personal story standpoint, right? We're wanting to understand each other better, where we come from, what lens are we looking through? And so that's gonna be, a lot through personal experience. It's not a campaign speech. It's not a, this is what I want to accomplish, but just to try to get to know each other a little bit more personally. All right, sounds good. All right, then we have
back to when I was a child.
well, it can do that. I remember the first one I went to, and I remember Odin Langford sitting there, and on one side of the circle, and I was on the other, and we grew up totally different from each other, but it really helped us better understand each other, and those are the things we want to get to, and it could come down to that. So don't rule that out. March 3rd, we have scheduled council committees led by Mayor Pro Tem Dunn, Public Safety Sales Tax with Kyle, Youth Commission Ordinance. We'll talk about that a little bit on the 17th. And then we have, again, some TBDs, and I have on here to add a workshop at some point coming up here. Again, it's not going to be very long discussion, so we'll try to get on a little bit sooner than later with regards to the request from the Community Engagement Commission. Is there anything else that you guys want us to add on the advanced workshop list here that we're missing?
In thinking about this town hall and micromobility,
Yeah.
remind me when the last date of our legislative session is?
The end of,
12th of March.
oh, is it March?
It's the 12th of March, but I can offer in this particular case, and you saw the two bills that we're tracking, and there may be some others that are loosely affiliated, but the two bills in particular that we're tracking do not do anything statutorily until after 2027. So even if those two bills pass, we would have to wait until 2028 to see the effect of them take place. And so I feel pretty confident about having this conversation whenever we want to have it.
I really appreciate the notion of the first quarter and seeing we're closing in on the midpoint.
Yeah.
Would love to try and get a calendar date.
Yeah.
I don't think we can pick it in this meeting, but I'd look to the staff to try and identify a good date for a town hall
Yeah.
gathering.
And that's something else the CEC obviously can help us with.
Absolutely.
And I can say that tomorrow when we meet for our department head meeting, I'll use a level 1 grapple on the chief to get him to get a date for this thing set up. So we'll let you know what that is.
If you need help with that takedown, let me know.
Yeah.
I wanted the dog bite though. I think.
Yeah, right.
Councilmember Kurtz.
And I don't know where it fits in with all the other things regarding like 20-year capital facilities plan and sidewalk master plan and those things, but last year around this time or in March, we had this packet with all the levers we can pull to fund all the things. And I feel like we need to start talking about how to fund all the things that you guys keep telling us are very expensive.
Yes, we agree. We wholeheartedly agree. And that's going to be in, it's going to be sometime after we bring you the capital facilities plan, but it's going to be tied to both the capital facilities plan and the sidewalk master plan.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else on future workshops? Councilmember Ball.
Well, I still would like to get back to the governance manual sooner than later. I mean,
Agreed.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, we were almost done, weren't we? I mean, it was close.
We'll have to figure out where we can get that. Let's try to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, director's meeting.
And I'll say also editorially, one of the goals that I would see coming out of the retreat is some more sort of understanding about how some of those things are going to move forward. Some of those chapters are going to be settled by some of the stuff that comes out of the retreat, I think. And so we'll be on much more solid footing to schedule follow-up conversations, I think, coming out of the retreat.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Next up, we're back to citizen comments. Don't everybody jump at once. Oh, we're hearing again from Mr. Mark Sabo. Welcome. I'll have to put you down here as ×2.
Thanks. I want to speak on the logo.
Yeah.
I agree with Arlene. A lot of heritage behind it, a lot of history. I don't think we should make a big change. I agree with what you said, Chris, about the font. But it sounds like it's going to come to our commission tomorrow night. What I would like to see is Arlene had mentioned there's some people that need to be discussed that actually put this thing together. Could we get their contact information?
Yeah.
We would love to have that because that would help us. Because I assume that Mark will be giving us some direction tomorrow on how he wants to proceed with this. And it's just one of the number of things that I think would help us come up with a resolution of how we want that logo to look. Me personally, I love it the way it is now. But I know it needs to be enhanced, so that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody online? No, we do not have any comments online. All right. We don't have an executive session. And if there's not seeing any more business before the council, we will adjourn at 8:12. We will see you guys on Tuesday and look for some correspondence from Mark or phone.